So I've discovered some shocking things lately I thought I'd share with bad lighting and bad sound, no prep. It's a rant. It's what we do here on this crazy channel. So I'm working with an engineer, new engineer, trained, whatever. Doesn't know anything about version control. Teaching people to code without teaching them version control. Interesting. Then we're working with some source code and doing some compilation, and you can't compile code on Ubuntu, which is a Linux distro, and have it work on Red Hat, which is another Linux distro. And I'm like, well, that's weird because that never used to be the case ever. And I'm like, I don't know when this changed, but whatever. I haven't done a lot of C compilation in ages, so whatever. Start looking at it, and everything's tied to a specific version of glibc. And I'm like, well, that's just wrong. Like, that's just not the way Unix is supposed to work. Shared libraries are supposed to work. You're not supposed to bind even to a specific version beyond a major version, right? And that doesn't happen anymore. And I was like, well, that's just a change. The compiler never had this problem before. I used to compile stuff on Gen 2 all the time and run it on other distros. It wasn't an issue. You had to be careful with your shared libraries, but it didn't matter if it was 3.23 or 3.24. Like, that doesn't make any difference. And now it does. And then you go look it up, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's a bad idea to link with the major version. No, it's not. It's the way it's supposed to work. You're not supposed to have to specify the version. Then you'd have to compile for every freaking version of every distro. Or statically link. And then they go, well, statically link is a definite no-no. And I'm like, it's a shared library. Like, what do you even... We shouldn't have them anymore. Technically, we don't need them. We haven't needed them since the 90s. The purpose of a shared library is to save memory in the machine. We have more memory than we know what to do with. We don't need shared libraries anymore. What are you, nuts? Should statically compile everything anyway. Oh, what about security holes? Fix them! You only need to fix them once. You only need to keep fixing them forever. Once they're fixed, they're fixed. It's not that hard. Like, really, what are you doing? So, retrograde. We're not teaching version control. Things don't just compile and are transportable anymore under Unix, which is like, that's news to me. 5 years ago, it wasn't like that. I can tell you that for certain. That is nuts. Like, what are they doing with the compilation and linking? Telling people not to use static? Why? Why? That's crazy.